Critics are slamming a double standard that seems to be emerging at CNN after it fired Rick Santorum, a Republican, from his role as senior political commentator over controversial comments he made about Native American culture. But CNN is letting Chris Cuomo keep his primetime spot, despite the anchor's recent admission that he joins strategy calls about his brother, who happens to be the governor of New York, and the sexual harassment allegations against him. Cuomo explains it away to his viewers in this manner. Watch.
My family means everything to me, and I am fiercely loyal to them. Being looped into calls with other friends of his and advisors that did include some of his staff, I understand why that was a problem for CNN. It was a mistake because I put my colleagues here, who I believe are the best in the business, in a bad spot.
Joe Concha, take it away.
So Chris Cuomo is fiercely loyal to his family. Okay, go work for your brother then. You already do already. Might as well get paid for that aspect. That's what's unbelievable about this, right? Or go work for the DNC or run for office yourself. There's a mayor's race that's going to be coming up soon. Get out of TV. Because he is not an anchor. Chris Cuomo is not. He is an activist. And let's go through an aggregate exactly what Chris Cuomo has done in terms of violations, ethical violations that anybody else not receiving his paycheck would have been fired from. And he's getting criticized by the left, by the way. This isn't a right-wing argument or a left-wing argument. It's a pragmatic argument. March of 2020, he receives COVID testing before anybody else in New York can get it from his brother, Andrew, literally having state troopers go out to his house in the Hamptons to test him. He tests positive for COVID. So he interviews his brother while he is COVID positive, never brings up the nursing home scandal in any way, shape, or form that left 15,000 people dead in nursing homes. So those weren't interviews. It was PR. Again, he works for his brother. April of 2020, he fakes his own quarantine, actually gets into a confrontation with a 60-something-year-old man at the Hamptons at another house that he's building. So he wasn't at his house. He was 30 minutes away, thereby putting that person at risk. That person filed a police report against him. So he should have been gone then at that point. And then a tape emerges last year. Tucker Carlson was able to obtain it, where he coaches Michael Cohen through an interview that he's going to do on CNN. Doesn't only give him the questions, he even gives him the answers. How does that not get him fired? And now he's giving his brother advice on how to avoid allegations around sexual harassment. If you are a woman and you appear on that show, shame on you, because this is not somebody who believes all women, as he so piously said over the last year and a half.
Wow. Tommy, preach. Joe just teed that up perfectly. So we have ethical issues, criminal issues, civil issues, and as Ultraviolet put it, this isn't just about a brother sitting in on his brother's strategy call. This is a primetime network anchor that is sitting in on strategy calls for the governor of New York on sexual harassment, abuse, fraud, and corruption allegations with other people present, like staff members and the like. This goes so far beyond what this guy has been doing. It boggles the mind, and yet he continues to gaslight. I'm just a fierce loyalist to my family. What is next, and do you ever see accountability happening, Tommy?
No, because this is CNN, and CNN is a joke. I think we all know that. But the only way that this is going to be solved is if actual CNN viewers take issue with it, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But at the end of the day, all we can do is not watch CNN. I have a feeling that most of us don't watch CNN anyway. But at the end of the day, you know, they're going to die by their own sword here. They don't have Donald Trump to increase and boost their ratings. They can't talk about the wonderful job that their president is doing because he's not doing a wonderful job, and they would sure hate to cover the multiple scandals going on within the Biden administration, our open borders, our rising gas prices. I mean, look at the country. It's in shambles. CNN has nothing to talk about. At the end of the day, though, their viewers have to make this decision. We know the game that they play. We know the double standard. I just hope that their viewers wake up and maybe change the channel.
Kaylee, you have direct personal experience there. Tell us your perspective.
Yeah, I can tell you I went on Cuomo several times. I got neither questions nor answers. Instead, I got insulted constantly as a conservative and at the time as someone who was working for the president. But you're right. I did used to be at CNN. And I'll tell you this, that Rick Santorum is a good person. I worked with him. We crossed paths briefly. He was summarily dismissed by CNN, discarded conveniently after the election, and they found no more use for him. Same with Jeffrey Lord, good person. I worked with him, was on many panels with him. He's discarded discarded as soon as an election passes. But yet Chris Cuomo, not discarded. Jeffrey Toobin, not discarded. Toobin exposed himself on a Zoom call. He's still employed by the network. Chris Cuomo, as brilliantly listed out by our colleague here, basically threatened to throw someone down the stairs in that Fredo incident he had. So this is unbelievable. It's one standard. If you're a conservative, you're a utility player, you're used and immediately discarded. They're just looking for a reason.
And Kayleigh, it seems like, too, if we put it into those political boxes, I mean, it's so clear, but there are plenty of other networks that have had investigations and real legal and civil ramifications occur because of a lot of other allegations that we are also seeing there. So do you perceive at what point will these lines be crossed here, and will CNN be sort of exposed in any way for the allegations circling around and for at least just a simple transparency and acknowledgement of it there, Kayleigh?
When reporters start asking questions, look, buried, as I noted at the bottom of that Washington Post article about these advisory calls that Chris Cuomo was doing, is a line saying that he also advised on COVID at least once. Well, start asking questions. When was he advising on COVID? Was it when he was getting the free COVID test? Was it amid the nursing home scandal? We've got to start asking questions. And to Tommy's point, stop watching CNN, but they don't have many viewers now. So I think a lot of people have already done that.
They're getting more coverage right now with us talking about it. Harris, final thought.
Well, that might very well be true, but it's a worthy subject matter because I think anybody would look at a senior political analyst or contributor a lot differently than they would look at a primetime news anchor, which I think was his title up until now. He's listed as an American news journalist when you Google him. If it weren't right, he might jump up and correct that, Chris Cuomo. But, you know, I thought it was interesting. If you go to thewrap.com right now and you see the headline and you see Brian Stelter, who's like their media guy, talking about, you know, whether or not he ought to have a leave of absence with his guests over the weekend. I mean, look, it's got to come up as a topic inside that organization because they do have real journalists over there. And at some point, they have to take a look at this and say, well, I don't have my brother on the air. I wasn't advising him on a sex scandal. I mean, it is very much what you don't want in television. You don't want it to become all about a single individual because as many networks will show you, they can pretty much replace anybody.